In a recent assessment from the Institute for the Study of War ISW, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine continues to escalate, with Russian officials expressing a determination for a definitive victory and the dismantling of the current Ukrainian government. Dmitry Medvedev, secretary of the Russian Security Council, emphasized on April 29 that Russia's goals extend beyond the territories currently occupied, particularly eyeing regions along the Black Sea, as he declared a need for a victory that ensures the destruction of the Ukrainian regime. The rhetoric from the Kremlin suggests an ambition for broader territorial claims, with Nikolai Patrushev a prominent presidential aide, asserting that residents in regions like Odessa should have the right to determine their future. This aligns with a persistent narrative from Russian officials claiming that the Ukrainian government is illegitimate and does not represent the interests of its people. Such statements are likely strategic maneuvers aimed at reshaping ceasefire negotiations to favor Russian interests while setting the stage to potentially annul any agreements at a later date. The Kremlin's position appears to be increasingly intransigent, as seen when Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov indicated that the perceived illegitimacy of President Volodymyr Zelensky would complicate peace negotiations. This assertion is part of a broader strategy to manipulate the narrative surrounding ceasefire agreements, with upcoming unilateral ceasefires being positioned as opportunities for Russia to accuse Ukraine of violations similar to precedents set in past ceasefires, compounding the complexity of the situation. Recent comments from Medvedev and Patrushev suggest a readiness to confront NATO, with the former claiming that Russia must respond to Western aggression with a peace through fear approach. The Kremlin has framed its military activities, including large-scale exercises, as preparations against perceived threats from NATO and the West, further complicating the security landscape in Europe. In addition to military posturing, Russian President Vladimir Putin has reinvigorated discussions around a proposed Eurasian security framework aiming to create a counterweight to NATO and strengthen ties within a Russian-led bloc. This initiative has been referenced amid growing recognition of Russia's military cooperation with North Korea, signaling a potential deepening of alliances that could reshape geopolitical dynamics. On the ground, military operations continue to intensify. Ukrainian forces have reported advances near Toretsk, while Russian troops have made incremental gains in Belgorod and Sumy oblasts. The ongoing combat highlights the volatility of the situation as both sides engage in fierce battles for strategic locations, with particular focus on the Pokrovsk direction, which remains a contested logistical hub. As the situation evolves, the potential for a negotiated peace remains fraught with complications. The U.S. has indicated a willingness to mediate, but officials like Marco Rubio have stressed the need for concrete proposals from both parties, warning that without such commitments, Washington may withdraw from its mediating role. The Kremlin's mixed messages about its readiness for peace negotiations, juxtaposed with its aggressive military strategies, paint a picture of a conflict that remains far from resolution. In summary, while the international community watches closely, the landscape of the Russo-Ukrainian war suggests a protracted struggle with no immediate end in sight. As both sides prepare for ongoing military engagement, the focus will increasingly shift to the diplomatic front, where the calls for substantive negotiations will play a crucial role in shaping the future of Ukraine and its relationship with Russia and the West. As the Russo-Ukrainian war enters its 1161st day, the conflict continues to evolve in unexpected and deeply concerning ways. Recent developments have put the Ukrainian Defense Ministry under scrutiny amid allegations of a scandal involving mortar shells, while high-stakes diplomatic maneuvers are underway to secure a minerals deal with the United States. These events underscore the complex interplay of military and political dynamics that characterize this protracted conflict. In a troubling twist, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is facing accusations related to the management of mortar shells, a situation that could potentially undermine public trust in the military's capabilities. Although details remain scarce, the allegations have sparked outrage among citizens who have endured years of war and sacrifice. As one official stated, transparency and accountability are critical at this stage. The public deserves to know that resources are being used effectively in the defense of our nation. Meanwhile, the diplomatic landscape is shifting as Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal announced that a minerals agreement with the United States could be finalized in the coming days. This deal, expected to be signed shortly, represents a crucial step towards bolstering Ukraine's economic resilience amidst ongoing hostilities. Shmyhal expressed optimism about the arrangement, stating, "This partnership could significantly enhance our reconstruction efforts and economic stability." The agreement is reported to involve the establishment of a reconstruction fund and investments in various industries, presenting a vital lifeline for Ukraine as it grapples with the economic fallout of the war. On the military front, the situation remains volatile. Ukrainian forces have reported intensified Russian military activities, particularly in the Pokrovsk direction, a critical logistics hub. Ukrainian commander Oleksandr Syrsky noted that, despite loud statements about readiness to ceasefire, the occupiers have significantly increased their combat actions. This escalation raises concerns about the potential for further casualties and destruction as the conflict drags on. In addition to military developments, the Kremlin has sent mixed signals regarding its willingness to engage in peace talks. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesperson, remarked that while Russia is open to negotiations, the complexity of the situation means quick resolutions are unlikely. "We understand that Washington desires a swift resolution, but the reality is that many details must be addressed before any settlement can be reached," he stated. This sentiment underscores the challenge of navigating the intricate web of interests and demands that define the current conflict. Against this backdrop, Latvia has made a significant contribution to Ukraine's defense, delivering 1,500 combat drones as part of a larger international coalition effort. This latest shipment is part of a commitment to provide 12,000 UAVs, highlighting the increasing reliance on drone technology in modern warfare. Latvian Defense Minister Andris Spruds emphasized the importance of these drones, stating, "They will enhance Ukraine's battlefield capabilities and provide a tactical edge in ongoing operations." The integration of advanced technology into Ukraine's defense strategy reflects a broader trend in military innovation amid the ongoing war. As the conflict continues to unfold, the implications of these developments are profound. The mounting pressures on the Ukrainian government to maintain transparency and effectiveness in its military operations, coupled with the urgent need for economic support, create a complex environment for decision-making. Moreover, the international community's role in providing aid and facilitating negotiations remains critical to shaping the future of Ukraine. In conclusion, as the Russo-Ukrainian war progresses, the interplay of military actions, political negotiations, and international support will play a pivotal role in determining the outcome of the conflict. The coming days may bring significant developments, particularly regarding the anticipated minerals deal and the ongoing military operations. Observers worldwide will be watching closely as Ukraine navigates these challenges, striving for stability and security in a time of unprecedented turmoil. In a world increasingly defined by the complexities of geopolitics, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine remains a focal point of international tension. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin has made headlines by expressing a willingness to engage in peace talks regarding Ukraine, albeit with a cautious caveat. The Kremlin has warned against rushing into any agreements, implying a strategic play that highlights both the fragility of negotiations and the underlying tensions that continue to shape the conflict. On April 30, 2025, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that President Putin is open to discussions aimed at resolving the war in Ukraine, but cautioned that any potential agreement must not be hastily constructed. "We are ready to engage in dialogue, but it must be a measured process," Peskov reiterated, reflecting a broader Russian strategy that appears designed to maintain leverage while appearing amenable to peace. This comes amid a backdrop of skepticism from international observers who question the sincerity of Russia's intentions given its history of aggressive tactics and ongoing military operations in Ukraine. Adding to the intrigue, President Donald Trump has recently shifted his rhetoric regarding Putin's approach to the conflict. Trump who has been known for his favorable stance toward the Russian leader, has begun to publicly express doubts about Putin's commitment to peace. In a social media post, Trump remarked there was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas. "It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war, he's just tapping me along." This statement marks a notable pivot for Trump, who has struggled to navigate the complexities of foreign relations, particularly in dealing with authoritarian regimes. The timing of these developments is particularly significant. Just days before Trump's comments, Putin announced a 3-day ceasefire scheduled for May 9, coinciding with a major military parade in Moscow celebrating the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany. Critics have pointed out that this ceasefire appears less a genuine effort to promote peace and more a tactical maneuver to avoid embarrassment during a high-profile public event. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky responded by reaffirming his commitment to a longer-term ceasefire, accusing the Kremlin of using such gestures to distract from its ongoing hostilities. While the world watches, the intricacies of Russian diplomacy continue to evolve. The Kremlin has increasingly relied on informal diplomatic channels, employing proxy diplomats who often undermine the coherence of Russia's foreign policy. According to analysts, this trend complicates negotiations and creates an unpredictable diplomatic landscape, as these proxy figures maneuver to gain favor and advance their agendas. It becomes increasingly clear that the Kremlin's approach to diplomacy is fraught with risks. The reliance on informal avenues may produce short-term gains but risks long-term instability in Russia's international relations. The implications of these developments are manifold. For Ukraine, the prospect of peace remains clouded by Russia's aggressive posturing and the West's fluctuating support. The Trump administration, while seeking to broker a peace deal, faces criticism for its perceived appeasement of Moscow, which may only embolden Putin. As the situation unfolds, the dynamics between the United States, Ukraine, and Russia will continue to evolve, with each nation recalibrating its strategies in response to the shifting geopolitical landscape. In conclusion, while Putin's recent overtures may signal a willingness to engage in dialogue, the underlying tensions and historical context suggest that any peace agreement will require careful navigation and sustained international pressure. The coming weeks will be crucial as the world watches to see whether genuine progress can be made or if this is merely another chapter in a protracted and complex conflict. As diplomatic efforts continue, the stakes for Ukraine and the global community remain high, underscoring the importance of vigilance and strategic engagement in these turbulent times. In a significant development amid ongoing conflict and diplomatic negotiations, Ukraine is poised to sign a landmark mineral resources agreement with the United States, scheduled for Wednesday. This agreement represents a crucial step in solidifying economic ties between the two nations and could play a vital role in Ukraine's ongoing struggle against Russian aggression. The announcement comes just 2 months after a fraught meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, where tensions were palpable, reflecting the complexities of the relationship during wartime. According to 2 senior Ukrainian officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity, Ukraine's economy minister Yulia Sviridenko is currently in Washington to finalize the technical aspects of the agreement. The deal is expected to be approved by the Ukrainian cabinet prior to the signing, which will subsequently require ratification by the Ukrainian parliament. This agreement is viewed as vital not only for bolstering Ukraine's economy but also as a potential avenue for securing further military aid from the U.S., which has been pivotal in Ukraine's defense efforts against Russia. Trump has previously expressed a desire for Ukraine to share its rich deposits of rare earth elements with the U.S. as part of the conditions for continued American support. Ukraine is known to have significant reserves of titanium, lithium, and uranium resources that are critical for various industries, including aerospace and renewable energy technologies. A senior Ukrainian official indicated that the negotiations had led to the inclusion of provisions aimed at balancing interests, addressing earlier concerns that the U.S. draft of the agreement overly favored American stakeholders. However, the backdrop of this agreement is marred by the ongoing violence in Ukraine, highlighted by a recent drone attack in Kharkiv that left at least 45 civilians injured. As the U.S. mediators strive to facilitate peace talks, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has indicated that the administration may reconsider its diplomatic efforts if substantial progress is not achieved soon. During a press briefing, he emphasized the need for both parties to present concrete proposals to end the conflict. The situation was further complicated by Russia's ongoing military maneuvers, which Ukrainian officials fear could be a prelude to further aggression. Zelensky has warned that upcoming military drills in Belarus could serve as a cover for potential attacks on neighboring countries, a sentiment echoed by other Eastern European leaders who are preparing for a robust military response. In parallel to the mineral resources agreement, Ukraine is also coordinating with the U.S. on new sanctions against Russia aimed at pressuring the Kremlin into negotiations. Zelensky has underscored the importance of synchronizing these sanctions with European allies to amplify their impact. As the conflict drags on, the humanitarian toll continues to rise, with the UN reporting a significant increase in civilian casualties over the past few months. In light of these developments, the outcomes of the upcoming signing and the ongoing diplomatic efforts will be crucial in shaping the future landscape of U.S.-Ukraine relations and the broader geopolitical dynamics in Eastern Europe. As both sides grapple with the complexities of war resource management and international diplomacy, the coming weeks will be pivotal in defining the trajectory of the conflict and the prospects for peace. The successful signing of the mineral resources deal could signify a turning point, potentially providing Ukraine with the economic leverage necessary to sustain its defense against Russia, while also testing the resolve of the U.S. administration amidst mounting frustrations over the pace of peace negotiations.